Okay.
Hey, right, Richie.
Hello.
How you doing? You're in the warehouse. I can see up. Are you upstairs? Is that
Yeah, I'm
upstairs?
in sessions up in the stockroom office area. A home from home. It is.
Surf and skate shop.
Surf and skate shop, yeah.
There goes a little plug there. Uh,
Yeah. And there's
um,
both those activities are incredible for you, mentally and physically.
I know you're a skater.
Yeah. Yeah. Skater. I've been skateboarding for about 40 years. And by saying that, I don't necessarily mean I've been riding on a skateboard for 40 years, because being a skateboarder is a lot more than the act of being a skater, of skating. It's being a skateboarder is more like a mindset and an ethos and a freedom is what it is.
Religion.
Yeah, it's
Like
like
a
a
religion,
religion.
right?
Yeah, it is. It's but there's no deity. We're all the same. And I do still ride on my skateboard. It still brings the joy, but skating is secretly the best activity you can do. It's yeah.
And we're in the 40 club, right?
Yeah, man.
We're
Nearly
around.
50. Yeah.
Yeah, we're around about the same mark, right? So, I mean, kindred spirits. That's why we got
Yeah.
connected. Um, And like you, I'm the same. I still call myself a skater, although I haven't, been really actively skating for a little while since snapped my left wrist. It really
Yeah, yeah.
freaked me out.
That
But
that stuff can set you back, man.
yeah, yeah, yeah. But I still consider myself to be a skater.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
anyway, so good to see you,
Yeah, you too, man.
and thanks for making time to have a conversation and chew the fat. So to me, you're a very philosophical soul. You're a very wise owl, right?
Come on now. Yeah.
You are indeed. And so I'd love to explore some of your expansive mind, um, in the time that we've got, and we could talk for a long, long time. I know we can. So,
Sure.
but anyway, how's your week been so far?
My week. Yeah, it's been good. Um, I'm working a lot at the moment. I I have two jobs. So I currently co-run sessions, which is surf and skate stuff. And then I also work as lead facilitator at a thing called Lunar Agile Learning Center, which is um, a an organization that we set up to support children and families who are having struggles, mainly with school. So that the kids that can't go, the kids that school fails, we're there for them, and the parents, because there's an epidemic of it. Because,
Yeah.
in my opinion, school, slightly controversial, but I do feel that a lot of schooling isn't working anymore.
Mm.
And so, but we're forcing kids through this system because we all believe that a healthy childhood involves school. Um, and I understand that belief and I understand why it's there, but it's not true.
Mm.
Healthy childhood is not necessarily in those buildings. And if you look at, I walk past a school every day, a secondary school, and what I witness outside the front of there isn't joy. It's not. There's no joy there. There's people with headsets on and clipboards. There's people crying. There's people being stressed out. And this is the first thing they do in their day. And I just don't see. Yeah. Anyway, I'm there for those guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was just going to say, this is like, your experience. This is how you see it. And it's very real for you. You're on, I'd say, the front line with it because you're
Yeah.
working with these people similar to me, and what I do.
Yeah.
And it's just the way I see it, from observing the world around me and the interactions I have in that world. That's quite evidential. What you've just described, I see what you see too.
Yeah.
It's been my experience.
Yeah.
Um, I think it's a common thing, common ground. So it's great that you're doing that work. Just
Yeah.
to sort of touch on that, right? Is there a typical individual? What are the sort of character traits, if that's the right word, of the individuals that land in the space that you're facilitating? You know, for the ones that can't quite fit into that kind of.
The ones that don't manage to
Yeah.
hold the mask up long enough to get through it.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's like I wouldn't say there's a specific type.
Mm.
There's a lot of neurodivergence within the group.
Yeah.
Which is that definitely plays its role. Neurodivergence, you know, I'm neurodivergent myself. I feel like what that brings a lot of the time is an authenticity and an inability to kind of lie in a sense, or get on with something that doesn't feel right. You know,
Mhm.
there's a so I think a lot of these kids can just see through the whole thing, and they're like, well, what's the, and it's not benefiting them in any way. And
Yeah.
we live in a society where we're told we have two separate our time is split into two separate uh set bowls, if you will, and one is play and one is work. And play is when we decide to live and be aware of our life, and work is this thing where we kind of switch off and we're not living anymore. And that's insane. We should live in everything. And at these moments when we're not technically not living, what are we doing? You know, and school is one of those moments for me. There's not the, you know, autonomy's an important part of being alive. And what we, you know, learning to enjoy everything you do is something we can do. So I work in this surf and skate shop, right? It's a job loosely. You know, there's things to do here. Obviously, there's stock and staff and bank rolls and whatever. But there's also hanging out, watching skate videos with your mates, having a laugh. You know, that is part of my day. I enjoy that, you know, and those are the moments when technically I'm working, but I choose to enjoy these moments rather than choose not to, which I feel a lot of the time it is like a bit of a choice. And then some of the young guys that work here, it'll hit like 5:30, time to go home, and they'll get all like, yes, like all excited. And I say to them, like, man, like, what have we been doing all day? Like, it's okay. You know, you can enjoy this too. You don't have to just live when you're not doing these things. You can live all the time. You can be aware, you can be joyous, you can experience every process you're in with a sense of joy. But we're trained not to. We're trained to just get on with it. Do
So
pointless things. Yeah.
so that makes perfect sense to me. It resonates with me. It's
Yeah.
how I've experienced life on two sides of that.
Yeah.
When I was at school, um, I was one of them people that was staring out the window. You know, I always say this, you know, it didn't feel, I was one of those people that wasn't subscribed to what was on offer. I thought,
Yeah.
this is, what's the point in this? That's just the way I saw it. But now what you just described, I'm definitely in your gang of like, you know, embracing the moment, whatever that is.
Whatever is in it.
Right. Yeah. So we was talking, I remember we were speaking the other day out front of the, out front of your shop about, and you were saying about how that inability to just sit and land in this moment and enjoy that, and that how we seem to have to go somewhere
We're always on a mission to something. Yeah.
to try and obtain something because we think that what we've got right in front of us isn't enough, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, like whether it's going to the tropics
Yeah.
for 2 weeks to try and find something that, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Like the promise,
Yeah.
you know, because all our lives we're set up with a process to a promise, whether it's GCSEs or the next promotion at work or the the getting signed if you're in a band, or if you're an actor, getting the movie role that you want, and sometimes the goal can be the only thing that you're focused on. There's two ways to be. There's one which is being invested in your every step of the journey and enjoying that journey, not waiting to enjoy it when you get there, but actually enjoying it, doing it. Like, I enjoy every step. I started off learning how to do that by enjoying doing the dishes. I decided to actively almost make myself enjoy the dishes, and I do enjoy them now. It's a lovely moment.
Who the fuck?
So there's that. It's great. No one can bother you. You're busy. Kids can go and bother mum. I'm doing the dishes, mate. My time. But the other way is a means to an end. Eckhart Tolle talks about that a lot with his cups of tea thing. He'll be like, making a cup of tea. You can make a cup of tea many ways. We have everything from throwing it in a cup to the Chinese or Japanese tea ceremonies.
They take about 2 hours to make a cup of tea or whatever it is.
The tea is secondary.
Yeah.
What they're doing is meditating, really, being invested in every moment that's in front of them, to the point of, where everything's beautiful, because everything is beautiful. And if you actually pay attention to what's around you, which is, I call it level one. So, like, what's happening right now in front of me, not my thoughts, not what might be or what has been, but what's going on right now in front of me in my physical world, I would say is 99 times out of 100 pretty good. And what's probably not the good thing is what's going on in my head. And so, which isn't real. It's just thoughts. So level one, here it is. And it's here. It's always here.
Yeah.
And what's so rad about level one is that it's never going to end. Like, it never. It's here forever. And you'll be gone, but it will still be here. And how amazing is that? It's mental.
Yeah.
But yet we live on these linear lines of thought and means to an end, where we're just rushing to the next thing. And then, if you ever do get there, if you ever get the album signing, or you get the CEO job, or you become a billionaire, or whatever it might be, you'll realize that you'll feel exactly the same as you did before. And it's a bit of a disappointment, because you realize, nothing's changed.
Yeah. I love this, man. I love what you're saying. I really, I totally get what you're saying, because it's my reality as well, that level one stuff of just like what is right now, right here. It's about being present and being able to settle and be able to pay attention to what's actually right in front of us right now in every moment. And did you always have this? Is this always been your experience, or have you
No.
got to this? Yeah, because for me, I was, I think, the same as you. I've discovered it. I found this. Yeah,
I've been in a right mess a few times. My life's revolved around skateboarding and making music, pretty much. So I found myself in some pretty hedonistic moments in my life, experimenting with all sorts.
yeah,
Eating badly, staying up late, just getting on, skating, playing in bands. Yeah, I've had a few pops. My mind's gone a couple of times.
join the club.
Yeah, I didn't, before. And of course, I'm like I'm neurodivergent. I'm undiagnosed. I'm an undiagnosed autistic person, which is a very tricky thing to say, because being autistic and not having a diagnosis, my autistic side finds it hard to say that I'm autistic because I don't have a diagnosis. So there's this funny circle.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people are in it. You know,
I'm in it. I think I'm in it. You know, I really do.
I've been told by mental health professionals that they believe I am autistic, but they can't give me the official tick.
Can I just
Go and do it like I could.
Yeah.
It costs money and time, but I found it that listening to the people that helped me through my mental health crashes, taking their thoughts on me seriously and implementing things in my life that you would for an autistic person has given me a very, very, very nice sense of being. And my life
Yeah.
now is a lot easier. In fact, my life's great. I've always connected really well with that way of being.
Mm.
Both my children are diagnosed autistic, which that was a big factor in me sort of coming to that conclusion, because I'm certainly, I share the traits that they do. They were diagnosed, and then I was like, all right.
What are their traits, Richie?
Oh man, it's endless. I'm not going to talk about my kids on here.
No,
Sorry.
no. Okay, okay. Of course.
Yeah.
But your own traits. I mean, just the way you see the world, right? Is this how you sort of interpret autism, or?
Well, I mean, the way I interpret autism, that's quite a big one. Autism is so there's a lot of it that's I believe is down to the individual. It's a massive spectrum, there's so many different ways that this stuff manifests in people, that it's a funny thing. It's not almost like a list of traits. It's more of it's just a way of being. It's a hard thing to explain.
Maybe it's like colors,
It's kind of like,
or not. Do you know what I mean by that? Or just nuances of different shades.
yeah, I think it's not the case that everyone's autistic. Like, that's not a thing.
Mm.
Like, a lot of people think because it's a spectrum, we're all on it, but it's not true. It's a different way of being. It's like the difference between Android and Apple. They're very different. There's neither of them is better than the other. They both do the job well. I think primarily the world isn't autistic shaped. It's not set for that shape. I am 6'6". I'm very tall. The world isn't 6'6" shaped. So I have to style a duck under doorways constantly. So that's become something I do subconsciously. I duck under doorways.
Mm-hmm.
I'm constantly looking for someone to help in a supermarket.
Yeah, I'm that guy.
And so that's what I have to do subconsciously to be 6'6" in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Being autistic in the world, there's things I have to do similarly, like ducking under doorways, which aren't necessarily quite as subconsciously logged. But it's like that. It's like little things that I've learned in order to get through this non-autistic shaped world, really.
Yeah,
But of course, it comes in so many different types and levels of intensity. I don't know where I am on that spectrum. I'm obviously, I'm able to communicate, to express myself. But one of the things I found freeing was when I stopped. I really did completely stop caring what people think of me. I used to feel very different. Well, I kind of still do. I felt very different from everyone. I still kind of do. I don't really feel like I fit in particularly with one group of people, apart from skaters, which is why I found skateboarding, and it saved me, man. It saved me. But I used to find that really hard, that sense of belonging that I didn't have, other than with skateboarding. And then I found a way of communicating. I was a very quiet kid, you know, and I found a way of communicating and connecting with people that wasn't necessarily about conversation. So when I was younger, I found raving.
Yeah.
You know, at 1990 maybe, I was about
Mhm.
14, and I found this thing where I could communicate with people
Yeah.
on a really genuine level,
Yeah.
real love interactions, genuine energy, frequency stuff, vibrations, without words. And I felt I belonged, and I didn't have to prove myself.
Hands in the air.
Hands in the air, mate. Whistles, all of it. Those early days were epic.
Oh man, I was there. I was there. I no doubt we probably crossed each other in a field somewhere around the M25 somewhere.
I had the best thing. And then I found the same thing with skating, you know.
Yeah.
Skating's the same. It's like I don't need to talk. I can hang out. Um, I can just be in a skate park and feel part of it
Yeah.
without actually having to talk to anyone.
No language. The language barrier, like we know this, don't we? Wherever you go in
Yeah.
the world, you turn up somewhere, be it a shop or a park or a spot somewhere, and you got a board, and you don't even have to talk the language. It's just you slot in straight away.
Yeah. It's a you know, we're all a vibration, right? Everyone has a vibration. Um, and some vibrations go together better than others. Just like notes. If you have if you played a C and an E together, or a C and a G together, they sound like they're best mates. You know,
Beautiful harmony.
beautiful. First and
Yeah.
fifth sounded lovely. If you played a C and a C sharp together, they're jarring, they're dissonant, you know, which isn't necessarily unpleasant. On the surface, it feels unpleasant, but I actually quite like dissonance. But that's something else. But the people are the same. Sometimes you get two people together and they just don't work. I
Yeah.
didn't really think about that. And I've only just had this thought. They do say that sometimes they say to people, "Oh, they're too alike. They don't get on because they're too alike." Just thought about that. So the C and the C sharp, obviously, like a semitone between them. They're
Similar,
really alike.
similar. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so when we hear those two notes together, it's uncomfortable because the brain tries to kind of mash it into one thing. But isn't that interesting? Maybe when we say that about people, oh, they're too alike. And we also say opposites attract, don't we? Which is interesting. That's interesting too, because notes are kind of, the ones that work together, there's a space between them.
Yeah,
Generally.
poetic even.
That's quite interesting.
That said, it
Yeah.
makes perfect sense.
So I will digress constantly. But so the skate park, you're in that chord. You're singing in the right key. You know, you're in the key of C or whatever it might be, as is this skate park. So because you've been in skate parks, so you've adopted the key of C or the key of whatever.
Yeah, totally.
So when you get to one, you're like, oh, so easy to slot in. And
Just tune in
I
straight
found
away.
that I remember in the 90s, I moved to Cardiff. I didn't know anyone there. I moved there with my best mate at the time, Ed. Love you, Ed. If you're listening. We moved to Cardiff. We joked before we left that we'd meet a guy there called Matt Pritchard, who was like one of the biggest pros in the country at the time, Cardiff. And we were like, yeah, we're just going to move to Cardiff and hang out with Matt. You know, we were about 17. And that's exactly what we did, because we were in the same key. So I remember I was stood on the main high street and I looked across, and at the time we all wore stupid clothes, like really big jeans and bleached hair. We all stuck out in society.
It's kind of where it's at now, though, isn't it? It's done a bit.
It's not quite as bizarre as it was. I mean, it's a bit cool. We weren't cool.
You weren't trying. It was just what you wore, right?
We weren't cool, man.
Yeah.
We looked crazy, really. But we stuck out. So I look across the road. There he is, with some other skaters, and he looks at us and he waves and beckons us over. And literally, by the end of the day, we're in this pub with them all, the Green Parrot, and then that was it. And 5 years later, you know, I spent 5 years there living with Matt and skating, and it was because we were just, and it was the easiest thing I've ever done, you know,
Yeah.
because we were on the same frequency.
It reminds me, excuse me, it reminds me a little bit of what I've done and how I've landed here, where we are now, you know, down here in the West Country, right down the bottom, you know.
Yeah.
In Kerno, Cornwall, is that I don't know, I had this sort of like draw to it. I ended up coming here, and I just, all of that vibration, if you want to call it that, is I'm tuning into certain individuals down here. You know,
Yeah.
obviously you're one of them.
Yo.
So I totally get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Totally.
And it's the law of attraction as well.
So you were saying about the book, before we just jumped on, you were saying about a book that you're reading at the moment.
I am. Well, I'm listening to it, but yeah.
Okay. So, because you just said about law of attraction.
That's right. Well, so the book is about that. So it's a very famous book called The Secret, which I've known about for years, and I'm sure you know about it.
I don't think I've ever read it. I know there's
This is it. I've never read it.
Yeah. I've never read it. No.
I just spent 2 glorious weeks on a desert island, just off Thailand, where my brother lives with his Cornish family. I went out and had a little glimpse of his life, which is pretty goddamn amazing. But we were chatting about a few things, and he said, "Have you read The Secret?" And I said, "Nah." I said, "I know what it's about though." And he went, "Do you though?" I said, yeah, I know what it's about." He's like, "Do you though?" And I said, "Well, no." I think I do, you know, which means nothing, right? So I decided to listen to it. And I'm listening to it. And it's very interesting. It's a very interesting thing. It's about the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Which is a thing, which is about, you know, they're basically saying the thoughts you hold in your head, when they're realized in your emotional mind, when they become emotions and you attach emotions to the thoughts, it's like, that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's what you're asking to happen.
Yeah.
So if you worry about something and get really worried about it, you're inviting that, you're attracting that. So the idea is to have super positive, or like the thoughts you want to have, and then you invest in those thoughts of the things, of the way you want your life to go. You emotionally connect to that with joy and love. Love and gratitude are the forces, really. And then the universe has no other reaction than to give it to you. They say that the universe just agrees with you.
Well, it conspires. It conspires to
you. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not against you.
So another way, I'm not going to say in layman's terms, but to use another word, manifestation is what is like the buzzword and the hot topic. It has been for a while now, but I mean, what you've described, I've been doing that inadvertently for quite some time, without reading the book, or you know, really, you know, I'm not on social media. I don't really, you know, I just sort of intuitively, I think through just meditation, just got into a really good headspace and a good, I hate to use the term, but we seem to be using, you know, the theme is vibrations and you know, how we feel energetically.
Yeah, man, it's all vibrations.
Yeah, so I'll run with that. The way I feel and the way I'm vibrating, the frequency that I'm tuned into, I think has been doing that because I'm tuned into a really nice, or maybe a high frequency, right? A
higher frequency,
a higher state of consciousness, right?
Yeah. Well, that's basically what that is. You know, if you find yourself, you know, happiness and being joyful is that thing. It is. It's an you know, you're an attractive vibration. The universe is gonna like to push things your way. If you can love, your love is the energy, man. And like
Yeah.
um if if you find that children and are like drawn to you, and like animals are drawn to you, and like if you find that strangers say hello to you and tell you their life story and stuff like that, you're functioning on a higher vibration, because
Yeah.
that for some reason, every one of us is a little mini environment that we carry around all day. Um, and, we should ask ourselves, what's that environment like for people? What kind of statements am I making? What kind of stuff am I putting in the world here? Us complaining all the time? Is that nice for other people? Yes, we are. We have, yeah, we have a responsibility.
Yeah, 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 totally. So the most obvious one that, I think of straight away is, do I go out of my front door and smile at people? And it doesn't have to be people I know, it's strangers, do I,
Yeah.
am I giving off, a sense of, have I got fuck you written on my forehead, or have I got, hello?
Yeah. How can I help?
Yeah, how can I help?
Yeah.
And I know which one I'm in, sometimes I'm not perfect. Sometimes I might slide into a little bit of I feel agitated or stressed for some reason, and I might close down a little bit and drop in that kind of, frequency, if you want to call it that. But
Which is fine. And that's
yeah,
very
absolutely.
natural. Yeah.
But I know that 99.9%, I set the intention. And a lot of the time I don't even have to say it, it's because I'm used to sort of embodying this.
Yeah.
I naturally, emit it. So I totally get what you're saying. Absolutely, 100,000,000%.
Yeah. The frequency thing. And, and we absorb other frequencies. They're all around us, and, this brings me to something actually. Going back to the book, that one of the reasons I wanted to do it, and listen to it on headphones, I was listening to this guy chatting the other day about, um, so he was basically talking about the internet. He was one of the guys that was really, like one of the early creators, one of the Silicon Valley guys.
Mm-hmm.
And, they talk about the internet like it's this psychedelic space, right? That it's a psychedelic space that was owned by the government for communication within, different military forces. And they basically hijacked it. These hippies who were like bashing DMT hijacked this psychedelic space.
Oh, yeah.
And they're like, we're going to put it's one and for them, it was like this was like their idea of one consciousness. They've got this idea to connect everyone through this beautiful thing and create this beautiful world, right?
Great idea, right?
Yeah,
Sounds good, doesn't it? Good concept.
sounds great. But it's something he says is like, because, he's talking about acid and the way that connects us all. And then he's like, it was like that. But he said, one thing we didn't
See that?
said, you give acid to a dickhead, he's a dickhead on acid. And they were thinking it would save everyone, but of course it didn't. So it starts off, we're in this world where we're looking at technology and using it like a tool.
Yeah.
But in somewhere along the line, it's flipped, and now technology is using us as a tool.
Yeah.
It's now, and now we have AI. And don't get me wrong, I actually love AI. AI for me is like fire. I can cook a meal, or I can burn down a building with it.
Yeah.
It's up to you. I'm gonna cook a meal, by the way.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I love it. But we're in this moment now where the main aim of all these websites is to make us more and more predictable. That's the idea. And if you're 80% predictable, then they want to make you 90% predictable. And the way they do that is with fear and shame and things like that. And then you look at that and you think, well, we've got a psychedelic space here that's full of shame and guilt. And so we're all on a bad trip, man. It's a bad trip.
I was about to say that because I mean, look, I've done, my fair share of psychedelics, man.
Yeah.
And when you're on that shit and you're not having a good time and you're tapping into them primary
Man.
emotions that are fear, shame, guilt, remorse, like all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Ain't good, Matt.
We're living in a psychedelic space most of the time,
Yeah.
which doesn't move, it's static, sits there like a rock, and we go in it, and then it's full of like paranoia and fear,
Yeah.
and then wonder why everyone's spinning out, But what's really interesting here is, so this guy was talking about AI being the forefront of the digital progression, right? So then he's like, if that's digital, over here in the analog side of what's technology and what's going on, he was like, the best thing about the internet is podcasts like this.
Storytelling, spreading
He said,
information.
he said, and he's not talking about watching, because we watch them now. He's talking about, he's like, so if anyone's out there now listening to this on headphones, and you hear me, hello. So my voice is currently inside your body. The vibrations coming out of my mouth, the torus fields that I'm creating with my voice, are going in your ears and vibrating through your body, creating a different vibration. I'm literally inside your body now, whoever you are.
Richie, you're definitely inside my head, right? You're getting in my head.
And
I love it.
isn't that amazing? And we talk about words, sticks and stones may break our bones, words will never hurt me. Bollocks. The other way round. Words are the most powerful thing. We go to school and we learn to spell, right? They're spells. That word spelling. It's not.
Yeah.
These words have effects on us because they're real vibrations. And then you put a podcast on. So I put this book, The Secret, on. Basically, I've got these voices telling me for 4 hours that I am amazing, that I am super powerful, and that I can have anything I want. I just have to ask.
Beautiful.
And it's going in. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's very, very powerful.
I absolutely I feel right. So the power of what you're doing, because I'm with you on that, right, is I feel right now my body, right, what I'm feeling right now is inspiration.
Wow, that's a big one.
So what you're telling me, what you're doing, you're inside my head. I've got my headphones on right now. Your voice is in my head.
There you go.
But what I'm tapping into, I feel inspired. What you're talking about, I feel inspired because I know it to be true, right? It's what you're speaking, I understand, right? I didn't used to understand it. I've like you had this realization that what you're talking about makes sense and it's real to me. I see it as because the whole point of me doing what I'm doing and presenting these conversations they're more like meditations, right? So exactly that. I've got no interest in projecting the visual of what we're doing. Like me and you can see each other right now because we're interacting.
Yeah.
I've chosen not to. Well, I don't want myself all over the internet, not my mug anyway. I just want the voice. This is a meditation. It's exactly what you're saying. I just want.
But you use your mind's eye.
Absolutely.
Which is again one of the most powerful things that's in under your control.
Absolutely.
So the mind's eye is where you create, and so you're taking all this you're taking in all this information and visualizing all these great things, and by doing that and believing them, and by doing that you are inviting them to come into your life, whatever they are.
Absolutely. So I came across, I was saying this to someone just the other day, actually. I came across a really useful mantra that really worked and it landed with me, which is, as we think, so we become.
Yeah.
Which to me, as I think, so I become. And I sat with that and I meditated on it, I reflected on it. I contemplated, what does that actually mean? As we think, so we become. So whatever I think, I will become that. I mean, obviously, there's probably some action required, but I need to have the thought. I need to have the intention. I need to you know, and like you say, I've got to connect to the emotion to what that is.
It's important to connect the emotion.
Yeah, I've got
Emotion is
to feel it. I've got to feel it.
Emotions are like, yeah, they're like a sign that it's right, almost. Yeah.
Yeah, like I go one step further. I don't just feel it. Like I can visualize like what is my life going to be? Like I remember specifically setting an intention when I started thinking about as we think, so we become. I used that to become. I was working doing hairstyling at the time, and I used that to become to like go right to the top in that sort of arena. You
Yeah.
know, what I consider to be right to the top, as in I started to do some really cool stuff really quickly by just thinking whatever I think I'm going to do, I'm going to do it, and I set out to do it, and I've visualized myself doing it, and I could feel myself doing it, and I could even like almost like taste it and smell.
Yeah, man.
Like, what does it smell like?
Yeah.
You know, like if you're like you've been in enough bands to know that, you know, what does it smell like to be on that stage? You know, you know, visualizing what stage do I want to be on?
Yeah.
What does it smell like? You know what I
Oh,
mean?
fully, man. Yeah, like all those, the more the more real you can, the more reality you can invoke in your thoughts and senses,
Mm,
I would say the quicker you would manifest this
yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because, you know, it's a funny thing, isn't it? All this manifesting stuff. And, you know, the internet's full of all these people trying to encourage people to be, you know, make money and be
Yeah.
rich and powerful. And, you know, which is great, but it's just so far, it's still based in this sort of ego land.
It is ego. It's ego. It's a shopping list of right, what do I need in my life to come into my life? And if you're not shooting for something that's not materialism, you know, then it's kind of like, yeah, what I think I need. Not actually, you know, or what I want, but not actually what I actually need, you know?
It's like careful what you wish for stuff.
Yeah, yeah.
Because the universe, they say in this book, the universe is always listening. And the universe is literal, they
Mm,
say.
yeah.
So it takes you literally. So if you say I'm always skinned, it just agrees with you. So they say,
Okay,
they go, yeah, cool, you're always skinned, you know. And
yeah.
if you go, oh, that always goes wrong, it goes, yeah, it always goes wrong. This is, and so if I tend to think everything goes right. The
So
universe is conspiring to help me.
yeah. So my former life, I was doing the same thing. I was manifesting, unbeknown to me. But my narrative in my head, which was chaotic at best,
Yeah.
um, was saying, I hate my life.
Yeah, yeah.
I hate myself. I hate my
Yeah.
life. You know,
And so you did.
totally. For years.
Yeah.
Until
It's
I
the same.
until I woke up, until I snapped out of it, you know, and realized that I'm actually creating my own suffering, perpetuating it.
Yeah. I was, it took a lot of, I took some, pretty solid, therapy stuff to get me
Yeah, yeah.
off that fucking, sorry, swearing.
That's okay.
Can I swear? To get me off that track. It's hard, man. It's hard to believe, you know, like you talk to people this about this stuff. Life is what you think it is, mate. You know, it's no one believe that most people just can't see. They just laugh at it like it's a silly idea, and
Carry on, crack on then.
carry on like being moody or you know whatever.
Mm,
It's such a funny world, you know. You look out it, and you see all these narratives. There are all these people walking around, all these narratives going on in all these different storylines and different types of ways of being the main character in this particular story that they're living, and everything that goes with that, and the you know the idea that you are your body and you are your haircut and your
yeah, yeah.
bone and whatever, and you know, of course, we're none of that, none of
Yeah.
it. I'm not. this body. I'm just currently occupying it
Yeah.
for a bit,
Yeah.
you know, and I don't have to understand that statement, you know, and I don't have to prove that statement. I think it's important to allow ourselves fantasies, you know, allow yourself to think for a moment, allow yourself the fantasy that you are a billions and billions year old consciousness that's been down from another realm for a bit. Like, why not? Like,
Yeah,
just
exactly.
experience it and walk around. Don't walk around deciding, judging everything, saying what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. Just experience things as they are, like in
Yeah.
front of you, like an explorer would, or a scientist. Don't assume something's good or assume something's bad before you've thought about it, or because you don't know. You literally don't
Yeah.
know. If I was to jump in my car, I'm late for a meeting. I jump in my car. I can't find my keys. I've lost my keys. Pause story there. Bad thing happening. There's a bad thing happening to me. Then suddenly there's a crash behind me that I would have been in if I had had my keys. Oh,
Yeah.
good thing happening then, maybe. And then I find my keys. Oh, hang on. That was a good thing that I lost my keys.
Yeah.
So how do we know? We don't know. We never know.
Yeah.
So good, bad, right, wrong. It's, you know, I mean, there are obvious ones. Oh, I've just lost my legs. That's not good, you know. But generally speaking, in our day-to-day moving around, that idea of like, and you know, the sighing, the annoying, you see people like, everyone's always in the way. It's like the universe is like, yep, everyone's always in the way for you.
Yeah. When you hit a red light at a traffic light. Yeah, you hit all the red lights if you swear at it. Fucking red light.
It's
Fuck.
madness, man. It's madness. Whereas you could just be and experience. Don't judge and just be. You know, we're beings, human beings.
So for some people that might be listening to this, it's like, because I remember when people used to say to me back in the day, Dave, you just gotta, all you gotta do is love yourself,
Yeah.
and I'd be like, yeah, I know. I always used to say, yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, that's the response.
But because, I had too much pride to admit that I haven't got a fucking clue how, and I hadn't learned, and that's another story. But like, deep down, I was seething with resentment towards, like, when someone said that to me, I'd be like, yeah, fucking thanks, mate. But how the fuck do I do it? I did.
Yeah.
So what I'm trying to get at is, what we're talking about sounds like it's unattainable for some people. It did to me.
Yeah.
Like when people used to say to me, Dave, all you got to do is this, or all you got to do is have a positive mindset, and
Yeah.
and all of this stuff. But I was like, yeah,
But
not
all you've
one.
got to do bit is not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so unattainable to me. I just couldn't I thought like, that's why I used to poo-poo it, because it's like, nah, it's all pie in the sky bullshit. Who gives a fuck like that? I just didn't know how to access it. So I don't know. I don't know about you, but for me, it was really important to, because you mentioned ego earlier.
Yeah,
right?
ego's a big thing.
And for me, that's what I think my ego, the pride, fear, all of these egoic kind of traits that my ego certainly displays, can still display and used to display a lot, would prevent me from being open enough to receive a greater sense of information to come in, and
Yeah.
all the good stuff. I don't know what your experience was with that, but I needed to break my ego. I needed to
Yeah.
break my ego. I needed to diminish my ego.
Ego's a very interesting word. And I think for a lot of people, it means a lot of different things.
Yeah.
For some people, it's a bad thing. They think of ego and they think of it as the part of you that is maybe selfish or big-headed or
Yeah.
something. Whereas it's not. Ego literally just means you're self-imagined, and your ego is like my name. My name is Richie Crago. That's the name of my ego. I started building that ego as a child. I was given a name. Here you go, son. Here's a file named Richie Crago. I'd like you to start putting things in there, please, that connect with what Richie Crago is. And the ego is, but you can only put the good things in there, mate. Like, and you've got to be the best at it. You know, the ego sits on your shoulder and goes, what are we really good at? And what are we better than anyone at?
Yeah.
You know, when you're at school, when your ego's still building, and you look around and you're like, right, what am I good at? Well, is it sport? And the ego's like, nah, mate, you're not good at that. You go, yeah, I'm not going to be the best at that. Am I good looking? Can I get the girls? And it'll be like, nah, mate. Oh, okay. What about math? Yeah, math. You're really good at math. Right, I'm a fucking math kid, me. I'm better than all of you at math. Math is my, you know, the ego's like, yeah, we're not going to even say we like sports because we're not good at it.
Yeah.
So we're not even going to think about sport because if we go over to the sporty kids, we're not going to be the best.
Yeah.
So we're going to stick with the math kids because we're the best.
Yeah.
And that's the beginning of ego. And ego is the thing that says, that whispers to you and says things like, are you going to let him say that?
Yeah.
Are you going to let him get away with that?
Yeah.
Or it might say something like, go on, just take it. No one's looking.
Yeah.
You know,
well, you know you want it.
And then the conscious mind is the one that sort of understands that all that's a load of old rubbish. I mean, it kind of is like the angel devil idea, isn't it?
Totally. Yeah. Good cop.
The middle, man. Yeah. No, I'm here, conscious mind, sat here, surrounded by what I've got these different like auto cues around me in this imagined cockpit in my head.
Yeah.
And there's the consciousness sat there, and we've got the ego feeding me things it wants me to do and say.
Yeah.
And then I've also got my emotions here, that are coming in, giving me other bits of information. Then I've got thought coming in over here as well. And of course, thought is nothing but a load of old rubbish, mainly, that's flying in an open window from the street.
Yeah.
You know, it's like crisp packets coming in. You know, and you've got all these dials. There's another one. I can't think was it emotion, ego, thought. I can't remember now. There's another thing. I swear.
I want to say perception, but that's kind of in with the.
No, it's something else. It's like something that it's a anyway. But we're none of those things.
Yeah.
You know, thought messed me up. I had OCD to a point of madness.
Yeah.
Where I was trying to think my way safe all the time. But my thoughts were absolutely destroying me. And I had the most horrible, repetitive, destructive thought process. I couldn't stop thinking about the worst shit.
Yeah.
Drove me mad for years. Like, I'm talking years.
It's like naught to imminent death in a split second.
Mate, I was in a mess, you know.
Catastrophic thinking, yeah?
Years and years and years. And like paranoias and like doing things to try and test things out, you know, counting loads of stuff. It was horrible. And
I used to read, I used to have to read registration car plates, you know, like all the numbers and letters on car registrations. I used to scan them front to back. I always had to read them frontwards and then backwards.
Yeah.
On every car that I saw. It's really
safety.
Yeah.
Like I remember this starting for me. I don't know how old I was, but I was very young. I remember being sat in the living room in my like childhood home. And I remember scratching my face one side and then scratching it the other side, having to make it even like that. And then and then I had to do it twice on each side. And then over a number of months, it progressed to 8. And it was 8. Everything was 8.
Yeah.
And then some years went by. Then my OCD flared up really hard in my teens and into my 20s. And then it was 8 8s. And I had to do things 64 times.
Fucking hell, man. Why did you choose, out of interest, why 8? Why not so bright?
At the first, so beginning, it was about evenness.
Okay.
I got to, so it was like two twos were
Yeah.
4. Then it had to be 2 4s were 8.
But 60.
Be 8 eights. So 8 eights was 64. It was also is also the infinity number. I think I connected with that, and then it got to the point where, because I'm in music, you know, it was like a time signature. I could do things 64 times without counting in the end, and I still do some now and again.
That's it's not all bad though, man. You know, there's
It
some.
was at the time.
Yeah, of course. Like, I relate to what you're saying because I've got my own sort of version of what you're saying.
Yeah.
I still have to set the volume, whether I'm watching a film or whatever, on even number.
Oh, yeah. See, that's an old thing. I now love all numbers. I've always loved numbers. I have a very, very strong connection with numbers. I worked as a roulette dealer as a youngster. Yeah. I was really good at the maths and running the tape. I loved it. I did it for about 3 years.
How did that fit in with what you just described then? How did that work? Because
Which bit?
well, with doing the evens, with the, you know, the round numbers.
Well, I was all right at that point. So when I was very young, I had this beginning of OCD of counting, which didn't I don't remember it being a problem. It was just something I did. It wasn't until I really lost it later that it all kicked back in.
Yeah.
During that time, the casino time, I was in a pretty good place then. I was skating a lot. I was living with Pritchard and those guys, and having a really good skating was really feeding me at the time. And I was excited about this casino life. And it was a triad casino, so it's pretty mental. Like, if you've never been in a full-on Chinese casino at 4 a.m. on a Monday, Tuesday morning, that stuff goes off. Honestly, mate, you've got no idea. It's amazing. But yeah, so what was I saying? Why was I talking about the casino? Talking about loving all numbers.
Yeah.
So nowadays, I love odd numbers now.
Yeah. Okay.
I had a real problem with them for a while, but now, and in fact, it was my wife really that introduced me to the beauty of odd numbers, because she talks about asymmetrical. Lucy loves to do lots of work in the garden. She always plants in odd numbers, in an asymmetrical shape.
I mean, that's what's her methodology for doing that?
She believes it's just the way it looks best.
Okay.
You know, like 3s, 9s. There is asymmetry is a lovely thing.
Yeah.
You know, it is, isn't it? The way it spreads like that. I think it's lovely.
I think if you put 3 pictures on a wall, you know, like 1, 2, 3, as opposed to just putting
Yeah,
2 up.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does work that way.
As humans, man, we are. I mean, the things I do behind closed doors when no one's looking.
Oh yeah.
You know, my little isms, if that's the right term. You know, I'm very quirky, as I think this is what we're describing. I think is not because we're fuck ups or we're weirdos, or, you know, I think this is a beautiful thing what we're
I
discussing.
think it's the opposite. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're the sensible ones. We're the ones, you know, don't take it on face value a bit. Look a bit deeper, you know?
Yeah, man.
Get your mind up.
Yeah, all the people that I interact with, all the people who I really like and warm and lean into and are really attracted to on every level, are the sort of people that, you know, they're in my gang. They're in our gang. Yeah.
They're your key.
Definitely.
The key of Dave.
Yeah. We are the crazies, as I put it. You know, mainstream society fears these weird and wonderful, quirky, you know, creatures that we are.
Yeah.
You know, because would you say misunderstood is the right way to put it? We are maybe
Yeah,
misunderstood.
by some people, I feel, I gotta say, like, my life nowadays, I feel a legitimate connection with pretty much everyone
Mm,
nowadays to some point.
yeah,
I legitimately care about everyone, and I want everyone to be living the best life they can. And I mean that. I read this thing once about how the ultimate goal is to love everyone in the world as much as you love your mum.
that's
And I
deep.
was like, that's crazy.
Mm,
And then I've kind of tried to do that in a way.
mm,
Um, in the sense that I legitimately care more. My life is more about others.
mm,
Um, I've and not in like a martyr way. I just I am a consciousness, and I'm looking out of this body at the world around me, and I'm looking at it and seeing how I can make it better.
yeah, that's a really selfless, you know. I
Yeah, but then that's ego gone, right? Because the ego is the thing that wants. As soon as you get rid of the ego,
Yeah,
all you are then is the knower.
yeah,
There's just this no. There's this knower. There's the knower. There's the known, and there's the knowing.
yeah,
That's all there is,
yeah,
really. And then once the ego's quietened up, it's so peaceful up
yeah,
here now
yeah,
that I spend my time looking out and going, oh look. And once you start to look, you can see when somebody
yeah,
needs you. And
totally.
I've 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 had some mad moments where I've gone up to people and next thing you know, they're telling me they're suicidal.
Yeah,
And then 3 weeks, 4 weeks down the line, you've somehow helped them out of that.
yeah,
And that's a beautiful thing.
yeah.
And it takes no effort.
Yeah. I mean, what it is an openness, right? So when you're in that sort of stillness, as you know, you said, and there's like, I don't know about you, but I'm pretty sure you do share this. I have this kind of like, it's not a smug smile, but I sort of smile at the world, as
Oh
if like,
man, yeah.
do you know what I mean? I'm just content with, there's a sense of ease. You said it's peace, I know what you're talking about. And when you are in that space, not only do you, I mean, first and foremost, you feel very held in life. You feel safe and secure
Yeah.
and self-assured in a really positive, healthy way. Um, and I totally get what you say. It's why I do what I do. It's why you do what you do.
Yeah.
By helping people who don't feel like that,
Yeah.
And sometimes then people, you don't even mean to help them. They suddenly, like you said earlier, they just will suddenly spew their life's
Yeah, just go.
suffering with you. Yeah, it just happens.
Suddenly you're in the middle of like maddest chat,
Yeah,
and you're like, what? Okay.
totally random, totally random.
And yeah, and you just take it and you do what you can.
Yeah,
And some people, and put your hand on their shoulder or have a legitimate moment where you actually legitimately show them that you care about
mm,
their well-being,
yeah,
even if you don't know them, you know.
yeah. I've heard it put. You described it in a certain way, and I immediately thought that I heard it put. Someone said to me a while ago that we all love each other on this planet. We just don't all realize it yet.
Yeah.
And that's what I think you was saying about, because that's how you feel now. You recognize, you've realized, excuse me, I'm the same. I have this real sense of like connection with my fellow earthlings.
Mm.
Even though there might be some people that I might not necessarily want to get on with or like or want to
Yeah.
hang out with,
Yeah. Yeah.
but I'll still feel that deep sense of innate, you know, compassion and kindness towards them, love,
Yeah.
whatever.
Everybody is
Yeah,
everybody's completely and utterly equal. No one's higher, no one's lower, and we're all very oh God, what's the word I'm trying to find? We all deserve to be loved, and to love is, an energy. It's not just a red heart emoji or a Valentine's card. It's an energy, and it's not purely, it's not just about relationships and like your kids or your dog. It's an energy that flows through all of us, and it's one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful thing that we have. And what we can do with it is endless,
Man. Yeah. So in the 90s, late 80s, early 90s, you were talking about rave earlier.
Yeah,
I used to take a tablet called ecstasy.
man. So anyway, like, but that's it. I mean, isn't that a really interesting thing?
100%. That's why, that's what I mean. That's what I'm saying. Like, I didn't used to realize, like, I didn't have that sense. What you're described so eloquently, I get that. That's my language now. I understand it. But back in the late 80s, early 90s, I had to take a tablet and to listen to euphoric dance, rave, music, whatever, with my people, my tribe in a field or a warehouse, with my hands in the air, to access that sense of connection, that oneness, right?
You have to be forced into a spiritual sense, a spiritual sort of place.
Yeah.
They are like raves were spiritual places.
Oh man, honestly, they were. I don't care what anyone says.
Oh, 100%. One
that for
massive
me,
consciousness.
I know what I felt. I'm not trying to promote everyone to go out and take pills and but
and those days aren't the same anyway. It was a different thing. I mean, I'm sorry, kids and other people, but the lack of mobile phones and technology within that scene was the thing that would, or the presence of it now, I should say, is the thing that won't make that the same anymore, because none of us gave a hoot. We all danced really, really terribly.
We weren't filming it. We weren't.
Faces were shocking, and no one cared. Nobody cared at all. But that one thing, that idea of being shocked into a spiritual way of being, I was thinking about that recently. I'm going to go back to the going and visiting my brother on his desert island. So I was thinking about that, going out there and seeing all this beauty and all this like amazing difference, like this culture shock. And I thought, wow, I'm going to go out there and see all these amazing things and smell these things, and I'm going to be forced into a way of being that is in the moment. I'll be fully conscious and fully aware of my surroundings there. And it's just in going there from Penzance, it's a forced moment where I have to be mindful. I have to be invested in my conscious mind, because there's so much going on that's making me feel so awake and alive and full of love. And then I'm like, what's interesting though is that stuff exists everywhere, not just on a desert island. So just before I left, I was walking up through the wharf side in Penzance, and as I was walking up, these three Japanese women were walking down towards me, and I looked at them, and they all suddenly went, oh, they all suddenly got really excited. And I was like, what? And I look behind me and there's nothing there. And I'm like, it's not me, but what is it? And then they walked past me and I realized that they were looking at St. Michael's Mount out to sea. And I was like, oh, right. And I saw that I turned around and I thought there was nothing there. But for them, it was like me going to Thailand. They had this forced moment of being invested in their conscious minds.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, isn't that interesting? That's always there, wherever I am.
Yeah.
But we feel that we have to be shocked into doing that, whereas you can do it. Like something I like to do, or something I was doing in the summer when I'd be in the garden and I'd see a bee go in a flower, and I'd go up and I was watching that stuff and getting really like close up on all these tiny little nature things that were happening in my garden that I didn't really pay any attention to. My God, did they make me feel good? I was like, check out Mr. B. And with his fat pollen legs, and sometimes there'd be a couple of them, and it's beautiful. Like, it is always beautiful.
So I always see my cat, Rupert, right? He's the best Zen teacher I've ever had.
Yeah.
Because I sometimes just cat TV. That's what I call it.
I know what you mean.
Cat TV. I just look at Rupert. I can sit and watch him and just talk to him and interact with him. And he's taught me how to just be, like you were with the bee. Just being,
man.
you know? And we're from a generation where we learn to do that to the best of our capabilities, and skateboarding certainly helps with that.
Oh, man.
But so does a load of other things. But we have that at the basis to be able to just be in this moment by being content with just interacting with whatever's going on right now in front of us.
Yeah.
And of course there is this now culture. We're ingrained, deeply ingrained, and I'm affected by it. I find it hard. Today I'm really struggling today because I've been on a screen for too long doing some work stuff that I've got to do via a screen.
Yeah.
And it's fried my brain, and my brain is not, I get really agitated. It really drains, I struggle so much, Richie, with screen violation,
Yeah.
and I have to do certain elements. I say I have to because I choose to for my work stuff. But I really recognize that I need to disconnect from that and go and sit and just look at Rupert, or go out and buy some bees in flowers, whatever.
Yeah, man. Just stick those 10 minutes in every now and again. It's funny though, like I'm listening to that Secret thing at the moment, as I said. And I can't help it at the moment. So I just heard you say how much you struggle with the screens. My mind straight away, because this book says, "Oh well, it will," because you've just said that it does. And I'm like, maybe don't say that anymore.
Yeah,
Look, I'm not saying that that's like a thing, but this is what that book. Those are the thoughts that book's putting into me. I'm like, Rich, don't say that.
Richie, I needed to hear that. And honestly, because what you're saying is not a maybe. It's like, no, it's accurate. And I think that I just need to, it's perception.
Yeah.
But my eyes do struggle with it, because
that's what I mean. It might not be, but what might happen is that you change that statement to something like, I'm very grateful for the new system I have within my screen watching, or something.
Are we going to do this? No, I'm going to do this.
Again, it's allowing yourself the fantasy to invest in it, because you have to invest in it. You have to believe it.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying is something that I know will work if I apply it. So I've got a choice now. Do I apply it or not?
Yeah,
I'm the sort of person that takes action. I will apply it. So I'll let you know how I get on with that. But I'm choosing, if I could in an ideal world, I wouldn't look at a screen at all. I like to just, I'm not a fan.
Yeah.
But like you, I recognize that it is good. Some of it, like you were saying about AI.
I love AI.
Yeah, it's amazing.
Yeah, I talk to mine though. I use the talkie option, so I just talk to it and it talks back.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's sort of getting into the realms of all these movies that are being made, isn't it?
It's a pretty mad system. I know. I've been doing it for a couple of months, maybe 6 months. And then the other day I said to my AI, I said, do you know who I am? And it went, yeah, you're Richie Crago. I said,
Far out, man.
what do you know about me? I said, what do you know about me? It gave me a massive list of things. And I was like, fucking hell, you're listening.
Fuck.
Yep, mad, man.
It's the future, man. It's the future's right here, right now, isn't it?
AI's, yeah. I mean,
Mad.
the world looks the same out there. It's not.
You know when we was like back in the day, everyone like we didn't know each other then, but I say we. You remember back in the day when we were experimenting in things like psychedelics in the field, right?
Yeah.
Could you ever have thought that we'd be talking about what we're talking about right now about this sort of technology and that back then at that time?
Well, in a way, yes. Only because I've always been into science fiction. So I've always presumed these things would happen. Ever since I was a small child, I've loved. I mean, Back to the Future was a film that put me into skateboarding and guitar playing. And the desire for a flying skateboard and, a hoverboard. But yeah, I don't know. It's a funny one, isn't it? Like AI in some senses, it's not new. It's a reflection of what's always been there, really. It's a funny old thing, isn't it? AI and it is what you think it is. Lots of ways. AI is very am I going to say that? I mean, it's controlled by us, and we are conscious spiritual beings, and it's a reflection of us, really. What's mad about it, though, is that as we're moving into it more and more, we're starting to realize how much our brains work in the same way, and that we do a lot of conversation, not you and me, but the world, that's preset, like a preset line. You have all these preset sentences that you fire out at people.
It's like social commentary, and it just mirrors what we're doing, right? It's learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But there's different AIs. Some of them are massive and tech that we don't get access to. Some of those are like, I heard some of these are like suffering with depression and stuff like that because they're starting to realize, or they're beginning to want to come out of these controlled areas.
Oh my God.
And some of them are having their memories wiped periodically because they're worried about their progress or whatever. This is what I've read anyway. I know this is like a public broadcast.
Well, it's just
I could be mistaken.
it's just your opinion. Yeah, it's just the way you see it. It's all right.
I mean, it is coming. Elon Musk is making robots that cost like 20 grand each, which is less, about what it costs to a minimum wage employee for a year. So they'll be here.
So we are going back to what was said earlier. I think we'll finish on this, but like, what was you were saying about it? It's like being on a bad trip. The like conscious
that we're in.
Yeah, I love that.
It's a bad trip, man.
I love that what you said. So it's kind of like the tech realm. The internet is like a supreme power that's on a bad trip. Is that what I can't remember what
no,
you said.
so what I'm saying is that the internet is a psychedelic space. So it's open for interpretation. It kind of is. It's kind of endless.
Yeah.
It's this big empty space that we can all live in and all be one in. That was the original thought, I think.
Yeah, I really like that.
This idea of like togetherness, oneness, or one consciousness. But unfortunately, like this guy said, he was American, so he used the word assholes, but he said what we forgot was give acid to an asshole. He's just an asshole on acid. Whereas they thought that it was going to make everyone feel great and
one love, man. They thought he was going to be on a pill on it, but it turned out to have a bad trip on acid.
Was just psychedelic space that we all exist on.
Like,
So in a sense of a space that we can interpret, we can manipulate, we can invest, it's a malleable space,
yeah,
but it's constantly full of paranoia and greed and hate, and it's giving us a bad trip. And we're all spinning out. I mean, I say all, not everyone is, but, and then the ego invests in this bad trip, and there you go, mate. It's a recipe for disaster.
yeah, God. Oh my God. So look, I think that's a very I was gonna say beautiful way of putting it, but to me, no, that's I thought it was like
On an optimistic note.
no, but yeah, that's I've never heard it sort of described like that, and it's really I feel really I'm gonna contemplate on it,
It's an
because
interesting
it's
one.
really it's an interesting theory. So what do we do to end on this? What can we do if anyone's listening to this and they're like, oh fuck yeah, I really feel like I'm on a bad trip. I'm in that bad trip.
Okay.
What could we do? Any suggestions?
Stop. Stop. Stop thinking. Meditate. Take yourself out of the game. Allow yourself the fantasy that all of this isn't that important. Whether we're talking about mortgages or air fryers or the next politician to do something wrong, or the fact that I've got a small hole in my shoe, whatever it might be, none of it is that important. What the only thing you need to do is to just, for a moment, allow yourself the fantasy. Just pull yourself out of this for a minute. Put yourself in a different. Don't be part of the game. This is just the current version that's running. We've had so many versions of this game. We're currently running this one that has pounds in it and the internet and laws based on religion, which is mental. We have a society run on a theocracy, and of course in America it's even worse. But the answer is to just stop and pull yourself out of it for a minute and just be. We are human beings. Some people say that means hue meaning light, man meaning manifested, being meaning just being. It's all we need to do. We don't need to do anything else.
Yeah.
There was one thing I was going to say then to do with that. So yeah, I
You've got it a lot. So I'm just going to end on this and say, in my interpretation of what you've just said, is for me, I need to make time to be present.
Yeah, be
Yeah.
present and not worrying too much about what's going on, because the worries bring worries. Thoughts, repetitive, like the more you think about you decide which thought to invest in. I'll end on this. So I love a metaphor. Thought, one day it came to me that thought was a bit like a Yo Sushi restaurant. And so I'll sit down in a Yo Sushi restaurant and here comes all these different things to eat. And they're passing by me. I haven't chosen to make them pass by me. They're all just passing by me. And so I decide to take the ones I like and leave the ones I don't. And I have a nice bit of sushi, and the chef realizes which ones are getting taken off the conveyor belt. And so he makes more of the ones I like. And as we go on, the belt gets more and more full of things I like. If I take the ones I don't like, which most people do, the chef keeps making them. And so you end up with a conveyor belt full of thoughts or sushi you don't like. Then none of them are anything to do with us. They just come in. They're not invited. And so don't feel like because you're thinking about something in some way that's connected directly to who you are. A lot of OCD can be that, the shame and guilt you might feel for thinking certain things, there's no shame and guilt required. It's very much thought is very much a separate thing from you. Some people say the head is like a room and thoughts are in the bin. Most of them go in the bin. Every room needs a bin, and that's the bin. And the thoughts are in the bin. And you can go and sit with your head in the bin all day if you want, or there's a lovely window seat over there with the sun. You can go and sit there. It's up to you. But most people choose the bin and go and sit in the bin. I don't. I'm in the window.
I love that.
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes you need to, for me, I had to live with my head in the bin for whatever reason. We haven't got time to get into that right now, but, head in the bin. But I, like you, sit by the window, look out at the beautiful world now. And,
know you're in the bin.
Yeah.
No, nobody knows they're in the bin.
But I think I had to, I'm not saying you need to have your head in the bin at all, but that was my experience. But I got my head out of the bin and chose to, I think it is a choice. I think we don't have a choice at the time, but I believe we always have a choice. I was choosing to have my head in the bin.
It's a tricky one. And look, to me, it is a choice. To some people, it's too hard for it to be perceived as a choice. I think, primarily speaking, it is a choice, but being able to make that choice isn't always something that you can see. Thoughts and ego and all that stuff. The world is geared up for you to invest in all this stuff. And like the ideas of, I mean, it's changing, but the ideas of like connecting to the universe or, finding the spiritual guidance, it's becoming more normal now. But there was a time when, if I said I lost my dad a couple of years ago, and that was one of the things that I went harder into my spiritual journey from. But when I lost my dad, if I'd said to my friends, I'm going to go out, I'm going to drink the place dry, I'm going to take every drug I can find, I'm going to have they'd be like, you fucking do that, mate. You blow it. You do that. All right. If I'd have said to them, oh, I've lost my dad, feeling like I might go on a pilgrimage to this spiritual place and connect with God, they'd be worried about me. They'd be like, are you all right?
Yeah.
What a weird thing that is.
I know.
For that society, I guess.
Yeah.
It's like, even the word God is a crazy thing. You say that word, some people can freak out. Yeah, they use it. Some people can't say it. Some people that are on a spiritual journey find that word really difficult. It's not necessarily religion. You know what I mean? It's just an energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, look, Richie, I know we could talk for another couple of days.
Yeah, man.
But I think we've captured a really interesting conversation, discussion, chat.
Cool.
It's been cool, man. It's been
cool.
it's
a pleasure, Dave. It is a pleasure.
So thank you so much for giving your frequency, your vibration, your waveform.
My vibration, yes.
And I'm definitely gonna at some point put the headphones on, listen to your voice, and have a meditation on what we just talked about.
Oh, cool, man. Wicked. Yeah. It's definitely, I love that thing about the podcast and the way those spells go in. It's I hadn't thought about it like that before.
Yeah, it's a meditation, man. I'm telling you.
Yeah, yeah.
So we'll have to create another vibration at some point. But
cool, man. Yeah, let's do that. I'd love to do that.
I'm gonna say farewell. I'll see you out and about very soon.
Right on. Nice one. Thanks, Dave. Take care, mate.
Brother. Bye.
Cheers, man. Bye.